Hello everyone, welcome back to this week's video. This week I'm going to be talking about how women are afraid all the time. So I'm just going to get straight into talking about it because there's no point beating around the bush. Women are afraid all the time. They're afraid when they're on the street, or they're just walking home from work, or they're going to the shop, and we're afraid all the time. The reason I wanted to talk about this was because I had something happen kind of maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and it was like, on a surface level, obviously I'm a big feminist and I'm a woman, and so I know that women are afraid all the time, and I know that women have a right to be afraid all the time, but I didn't actually realise how deep my fear was. Like, unconsciously I didn't realise until this thing happened, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I guess one thing I want to do with this video is, I guess, awaken women to this fear. We all have it, and I know just from this experience that sometimes we're not even aware that we're afraid all the time, because we think it's normal to us. It's normal for us to be afraid on the street that something might harass us or attack us, or something bad might happen. And I think one of the first steps before speaking up about it is actually knowing that it exists. And I don't want to say this in a way that it's women's responsibility to stop this. It's absolutely not. It's men's. But seeing as they're not taking the initiative, women are forced to speak up about this, and if women don't know about it, or they're not aware of their fear, then how can they speak up about it? So I almost feel bad, because it's lovely being unaware, and it's lovely being in ignorance and thinking that you're safe all the time, but the reality is that we're not. Yeah, I guess maybe turn off the video now if you don't want to learn about this. This kind of perfect quote, so it's by Harriet Tubman, and she was a huge figure in the slavery abolitionist movement, and she had said this quote, and she actually had freed a lot of slaves, and she said that I could have freed a lot more had they known that they were slaves. And obviously it's not the same thing at all as this, but I think it's kind of a good sentiment, that it's like, so many women don't know that they are discriminated against, and don't know that they are constantly in fear, and this is not their fault. We're constantly told that we're imagining things, and that we're dramatic and over emotional, and that these things don't actually exist, because men in the patriarchy don't want to deal with this issue, and they want to keep doing it like it's absolutely fine. And so yeah, I just want to again just raise consciousness in all of you, and yeah, hopefully we can just start standing up to this shit, to be honest. Yeah, so I guess I want to talk about this thing it's called a social curfew. And obviously where most of us live, there is not any kind of law or any kind of official policy in place that tells women you have to be in by such and such a time on such and such a day. But we all know this exists. We all know that once it gets dark, that we can't go outside. We all know that if you're a runner, I'm not a runner at all, but if you are, that you might not go running when it's dark. And on that note, they introduced these like apps or these fun things to make it safer for women, like apps to show like your location to your friends when you're running. Or I think I've seen like a ring that like you press it if you're in danger or something, and it makes a really loud noise, or like it flashes and stuff. And these are all to help women. But again, it's just putting the onus on women to make sure that we're safe, instead of actually dealing with the main issue, is that men harass women. But whatever. But yeah, the social curfew, like sometimes we're not even aware that it exists, so that we're actively curbing our schedules to fit around the dark, and we're actively not walking down certain streets because that might not have good lighting, but this one has better lighting, and we're not even thinking about why we're doing that. We're just so used to doing that. Or things like when you're out on a night out with your friends, we plan beforehand, not to get too drunk, to not lose our friends, to all, stay together. And then, when the night is finished, you say to your friends, oh, text me when you're home. And then, there have been times where I've, forgotten to text my friend when I'm home, and then I've gotten a text saying, oh my god, did you get home safe? And then you're like, oh Jesus, yeah, I did, yeah. But like, your friend in her house is panicked because you didn't text her, so she's imagining the worst, that something might have happened. And we are constantly living in this fear, and we're not even aware of it because it is so normal. And like, one example that I just think is so funny is whenever I hear a whistle on the street, I instinctively turn around. And it took me a really long time to realise that I was actually doing this. And it could be someone calling their dog or someone just trying to get their friend's attention. But whenever I hear a whistle, I turn around. And I after a while I realised that I was doing it because I was so used to being whistled at and knowing that it was for me. And when I realised I was doing it, I was so angry. And now I don't do it at all, you know. One, because it might not actually be for me. So that's, I don't want to, you know, waste having to turn around on that. But second of all, if it is for me, no way in hell am I turning around and making them think that that's actually what will get my attention, that I actually will respond to being wolf whistled at. Not a fucking hope. The thing that I wanted to talk about, the incident that happened that led me to be so aware of the fear that I had really built up, was a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I was on my street. It was, you know, pitch black, maybe 9-10 p.m. at night, and I was approaching my door. And the way my building is, there's like a gate, and then there's like the next door into like the main hallway. And so I'm on the street again, yeah, pitch black, 9 p.m. at night, and I'm putting in the key to the first gate. So I'm very much on the street, and I don't even see a person, I feel a person right here. I think he actually may have like touched my arm, I'm not sure, but I feel a presence basically right here next to me. And I obviously just completely am just in shock, and I just like turn around straight away, and I'm just like, you know, I kind of retreat, and I'm just in complete shock at what's happening. And like the funny thing is that when I'm putting in my key, I always turn around and check, is there anyone about to follow me in, because that's just what I'm used to doing. So I hadn't yet got to that stage, and I feel this guy, and I think I had earphones in as well, so, which they also tell you not to do. Woohoo! I had earphones in playing something, and so I was, you know, again, I was just minding my own business. I shouldn't have to be, you know, keeping an eye out for my safety and surroundings 24/7. And what happened was, yeah, I turn around, and he could see that I was so afraid. And he kind of strayed away, not to give him brownie points, but I could see in his face that he was shocked at how afraid I'd gotten. And he was just like, and he was just looking for directions, or so he said. It's just impossible to believe these kind of things when they happen. But yeah, he said he was looking for directions, and so he asked where a street was, and I just kind of pointed to where it was or how to get there. And he was just kind of like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, you know, he was making it very clear that he wasn't a threat. But what made me so angry was that, like, I was just like, how ignorant do you have to be to think that it's okay to approach a woman alone on a street at 9 or 10 p.m. at night in pitch black and be shocked that she's afraid? What world do you live in that you are so unaware of the fear that women live, and the fact that you're a man? And he was so shocked that I would be afraid in that moment. Like, how do you think it was okay? And I'm still just so angry at that. And, you know, fair enough if he was just looking for directions, but you could have approached anyone. You could have approached someone who was walking towards you. You did not have to come up behind me. Like, I couldn't see him, and he was right there. And I said, I think he touched me, I'm not sure. Like, what world do you live in that you think that's okay? But, like, you know, he asked for the directions. I told him, and I was very short. I just said, over there. And, you know, even in that moment, I shouldn't have had to. I could have just run inside my house. But I told him, and then he just walked away. And I think maybe I stayed there for a few seconds just to make sure that he had actually started walking. I opened my gate, and then I opened the next door, and I closed them as soon as possible. And what happened was, I got inside the door, and I just burst out crying. I just don't even know what happened. I just started roaring, crying, because my heart had sank. I feared for my life in that moment, and it was just like, once I knew I was safe, I could just let out all the emotion. And I was crying because I had literally feared, you know, so much in that moment. But what made me so angry was that this was probably a seemingly safe moment. Maybe he genuinely was looking for directions, and I was made to feel like my life was in danger. You know, I don't think I would have reacted so emotionally had it been a very obviously unsafe moment. But this was just a perfectly normal moment happening, someone asking for directions, and I was made to feel like my life was in danger, and it made me so angry and so sad. It wasn't until, that moment that I was just like, oh my god, my fear is so deep and it's so internalized, and this was a safe moment, and I still felt like my life was in danger. So how the fuck am I meant to feel in a moment where it's actually dangerous? And I just realized in that moment that I am afraid all the time, and it made me so angry. And I was already conscious of it, but it just makes me so angry the more conscious I become. And so that happened. And then there's been other times, again in my building, I'm on the very top floor. And so there's been twice now where it's happened where men have, I think we've come in at the same time, or there was actually one time where I was opening the door and there was a guy waiting outside, and he like came in with me with the door open, and I don't know what was going on. I don't know whether he lived there and just lost his key or whether he was breaking in. I don't know. But he smiled or whatever. He just came in after me, and I just didn't know what to do. So I just was walking upstairs, and he was also kept walking upstairs. So we're on 5 floors, and I expected him to get off maybe on the 1st or 2nd or 3rd floor. And as I was walking up the stairs, he was also walking up the stairs, and it got to the point where I started running up the stairs. I think maybe he ended up getting off on the 4th floor or something, I don't know. But I ran up the stairs, put my key in the door as quickly as I could, and shut it. And I think I also started crying that time because I was so afraid. I was out of breath. And that was when I was inside my building, just 1 second away from my apartment, and it just makes me so angry that I have to get so afraid. And that happened twice, where I had to end up running up to my building and getting the key in as fast as possible and locking it. And it just makes me so angry, and anyone who says that they're not afraid all the time is lying to themselves. I'm sorry. I'm having a bit of a moment today where I'm just so angry. So I don't even care. One last point, what I think is just so interesting is that we are literally trained to be afraid our entire lives. Again, people aren't even aware of this. The people teaching us to be afraid aren't even aware of this. We're constantly told as children, oh, don't talk to boys. And we're told, oh, don't go there alone, don't talk to strangers. And it's disproportionately girls that are told to be safe and not boys. And what I just think is so interesting is it's men telling us. It's men telling us, oh, don't walk home alone now, don't talk to boys. And it's like, okay, you were once a boy, you're a man. You have the most authority to speak on men's intentions, and you're here telling me that I should be afraid, so obviously I'm gonna believe you. But it's like, if you're so aware that men do bad things and men are people to be afraid of, why are you telling me to be safe? Why aren't you telling your fellow men to stop harassing women? Like, it's just this insane, disconnect or something. And furthermore, what I think is hilarious is that we're told that we should be afraid of men our entire lives, and then women come forward saying that something happened to them or something was done to them by men, and we're not believed. And it's like you've been telling me my entire life that I should be afraid of men, and that something will happen, but then when it does, you don't believe me. And it is just this insane world, and you think you're going crazy and you think you're going insane, and it's just like, what is going on? So yeah, I wanted to talk about this. One, to just vent because I'm so angry, but to make women more aware that this is not okay and that they should start speaking up about it. We shouldn't have to, and I wouldn't ever force anyone to speak up against their will, but we need to start speaking about it. And also for men to be more aware, when that happened on the street, he had no idea that I would be afraid. He didn't think that I would be afraid in that moment, and that is some next level ignorance. And I'm sorry to the men out there, if you think that women aren't afraid all the time, you are living in a dream world. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about today. I know it's a bit more serious, but I try to make them It's like kind of lighthearted, but it's just not always possible. I'm sorry. You should still like it though, just because. So yeah, that is this week's video. I hope that everyone has learned something. Again, you know, feel free to, you know, leave your comments down the bottom and, you know, start a discussion and maybe awaken people to this. So yeah, hope you all have a lovely week, and bye. Bye.